Hey guys and girls, today's video is quite a long one. I'm actually going to show you exactly how to make a dance track from scratch, even if you're brand new. I'm going to run you through the psychology of making dance music, right? What each section really is, what's going on in each section, the build, the drop, and it's going to help you so much with actually making music. And this stuff is really going to actually help your DJing skills as well. This is not a short video, right? I'm running you through this in detail. So get your pen, get your paper ready. You're going to learn a ton of stuff. You're going to get a ton of value out of this. Now, just so you know, this clip that you're about to see is from one of my weekly coaching calls, okay? So I work closely with a small group of private students where I teach them how to make awesome dance music from scratch. And I then listen to their tracks, review them, collaborate with them, and constantly teach them how to make their music better. And I work with these students to help them essentially get record labels, right? So if at any point in this video you're like, this is awesome, I'd love to be one of Phil's students, there's a link directly below this video. You can go and click on it. It's called edmcoaching.com. It'll take you through to a page where there is some free training. You can click, you can watch it. And at the end of that free training, you can book a call to actually speak to me. And if you're a good fit, you can become one of my private students and I'll work closely with you. So that's really awesome. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that before we get into this. And look, like I said, get a pen and paper ready. There's a ton of value in this video and you're going to learn so much. So let's do it. Okay, right. So we're going to say this is the intro. This will be the breakdown. This will be the build. This will be the drop. This will be the second breakdown. This will be the second build, and then the second drop, and then the and then the outro drums over here. Okay, so that is a typical track right there. Let me go and quickly type this in. I want you to make notes of this as we go through. So this is intro. Each of these is 16 bars. So write this down, okay? Intro. Let's make this smaller. So it's neat. Oh, crikey, come on, Phil. Right. Intro. In fact, let's make it smaller again. So everyone make notes of this, okay, as we go through. So intro, breakdown. Each of these 16 bars. Breakdown. Break. Oh, gosh. Down. Okay. The next section is the build of the track. Okay. Build. Okay. The next section is the drop. Okay. And then what you get is the second breakdown, build and drop. And then you have outro at the end. This is all dance music. Oh, gosh. Outro. Okay, trying to be as engaging as I can and as quick as I can here. Now, each of these sections, 16 bars. This can change, you know, sometimes it changes. Sometimes they're 32 bars, sometimes the build is 32 bars, but typically this is a good structure. And if you're starting off, you know, you want to be thinking like this. Now, I'm a big advocate of beat hacking. So really what I would ask you all to do is go and analyze your favorite music and see what they are doing and then follow them. Don't just blindly follow this. You know, like if you've got a track you really want your song to sound like, follow their song structure. But if you wanted to just write straight off the bat, you just want to understand top level stuff, how dance music works, this will help you. Now, the first thing we need to understand is the drop. This goes with most dance music. This is the thing. This is the most exciting part of the track. This is the bit where people scream and jump up and down. So I always like to start here. And I start here when I'm making tracks. So start here. Why is it important to start here when you begin? Because when you start making music, what you will do is you'll go, oh, I'm going to do a bit of drums and I'm going to do this. And you'll come up with a cool rhythm and you'll go, oh, that's a cool rhythm. Well, that could be the intro, right? And then you go, okay, well, then what would I do now for the breakdown? You'll add a bit more. And then you'll find yourself getting lost. And then you never really get to the drop. And then what a lot of people typically do is they just move on to the second track, right? So we want to start with the hardest bit of the track, you know, and that's important with most things in life, I think. And not that I want to get too philosophical here, but stop skirting around stuff and go for the, you know, there's a book I read once called Eat That Frog. And it's like,
you get up in the morning and you eat a live frog. Well, why would you do that? Because it's the worst thing you could do that day. And now everything else is easy, right? So get that worst bit over and done with. And I try and live like that. And it applies to music as well. The drop is the hardest bit. That's the bit you really want to get right, because that's the exciting stuff. Once you've done that, the rest will go from here. So I would say start here. The second thing I would say, do not even bother, right, with the second half of the track until you got the first half of the track perfect. That's another little life skill for you here when it comes to producing dance music, is you want to only concentrate on the first half of the track first, okay? Oh, what am I doing? Hold on. So this section here, I'm going to make that red, and make that a bit thinner. Okay. Do not even bother moving on to the second half of the track until you've done this part of the track, right? Because the second half of the track, 99% of it is going to mimic the first half of the track. And the big mistake I made for years is I'd come up with an idea for a drop and a build and stuff, and then I'd go, right, let's build the whole track up, and I do the second half. But then the thing that actually takes the longest is these little tweaks. I'm going to change that. I'm going to change that. I want to make the bass line a bit different here. And then all you're doing is you're in this perpetual state of, oh, copy and paste, copy and like change the second half, change the second half. So I never even begin the second half of the track until my build, drop, breakdown, and intro is perfect. And then I just second half of the track, and then it's easy to go in and tweak some stuff then, you know? So that's another thing that's going to save you a lot of time. So we started the drop, and we're not going to bother with the second half. Now, what is the drop? The thing that makes a drop is drums and bass. We're not talking about drum and bass music, although this does apply to that. This applies to all music. We're going to hit them with a big drum, and we're going to hit them with a lot of bass. In particular, sub bass. This is critical, okay? This is the thing that is people are gonna feel. Boom, boom, boom. You know, like when you're walking into a festival and you can feel it. It's like, oh my God. Boom, 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 boom. It's like, whoa, the energy of it is ridiculous. And that's why we're all here, by the way, because of sub bass. It's like, it's the most crazy thing. So a drop is a kick drum and sub bass and bass. And that's, once you've got that right and your kick and your bass is hitting right, the rest of the track will just, it's you know, it's in the bag at that point. So this is really the most important bit, drums and bass, and in particular sub bass. But you'll also want to have leads. Sometimes if you're making kind of EDM music, if you're making tech house music, drums and bass, and you're there basically. And so I'm going to put leads at the bottom because I don't believe you always need a lead to have a good drop. And then the other thing which I wanted to put in here is percussion. Okay. People adopt percussion, right? Now, here's the thing. People are dancing to the drum and the bass. You know, like when it hits, they're dancing to the drum. That's actually what's happening, right? So people aren't dancing to the melody. Even though you think you're dancing to the melody, you're dancing to the drum. Now, the percussion is the thing that just drives that drum forward. So you got the drum just going dum, dum, dum. But when you got that, it's like, it's just adding to the groove of the track. And without the groove of the track can lack movement. So what percussion does, so drum and bass, what this is, and this is, by the way, this is very conceptual, but I'm going to go and give you examples of this. But like, really note this down. Like, I'm telling you now, what I'm teaching you here, I'm adding into the syllabus, right? Because I'm adding it in early as well, because this is so important. So drum and bass, what this is energy, okay? What the percussion is progression and groove, okay? Okay, so the percussion is progression and groove. That's what that is. And you, by the way, after I've taught you this, you're going to go and listen to music and you're going to go, whoa, because you're just going to hear it. Like if you like kind of, especially if you like kind of tech house music, go and listen to Chris Lake. His drops, there's a drum and a bass line, and then in come the hi-hats. You know, it's like, it's so awesome. And that's, you know, some people go, oh, dance music sounds the same. It doesn't. but I can kind of understand it because it's very methodical. And then this is what I'm teaching you, the methods behind this. So you got the percussion, and then you got the leads, and the leads kind of add energy as well. And what the leads do is they often add a hook, right? So what do I mean by a hook? A hook is a memorable sound, okay? It's the thing that people sing. Oh, have you heard that song that goes, and everyone goes, yeah, I've heard that one, right? That's a hook. And no one's going, you know, they're dancing to the bass line, right? No one dances to the hook. So that's the drop. Now, how do we make the drop hit hard, right? How do we do that? Because that's what we want. We want when the drop hits, it's groundbreaking. It's like an earthquake has hit. That's what we want. This is the next big mistake people make when they make dance music, is they go, I need to add and add and add. And I need to throw more stuff in because I need it to be bigger and bigger. That's a mistake. Sometimes the biggest drops are a bass and a kick drum, and it's like, oh my gosh, right? So how do we make that kick and bass drum seem huge, seem earth shattering? Well, we got to make sure it's not there beforehand, and we bring it all in at once. So that brings me on to the build. The build is about tension. Okay, so write this down. Build is about tension. Is tension with an S or a T?
S, but it doesn't really matter.
Okay, I'm going to put an S in. We want to do this right. We're intelligent people here. So we want to put tension in, right? So this is what the build's all about. How do we build tension? Repetitiveness, okay? Repeating sounds is the quickest way to build tension in any song. You go and listen to any build and it's going, it's like, you know, it's like, what the heck's going on? Well, they've just taken one sound, they're looping it quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker, right? So that's the quickest way to build tension ever, is to repeat something and to repeat it quicker and quicker and quicker. And what I mean by this is you're shortening the time. So it's like a bar, and then it's half a bar, and then it's a quarter of a bar, and it's right. That's tension. Now, the next thing we need to do is in the build is we need to remove drums and bass. By the time that drum and bass comes in, there can't even be the slightest amount of drum and bass there. So when we bring it in, it's like woof, huge. So remove all bass. Now, this is the thing, right? Remove all bass, but obviously there's bass in a kick drum as well, right? So we want to remove kick as well. Remove kick. And if you have any sort of whatever, oh, this is the next most important thing with the build. We need to prepare people for the drop. This is another mistake a lot of beginners make. They have one lead going on, and the build has got one thing going on, and when the drop hits, it's completely different. Your build has to have loads of elements of your drop. It just has to. You've got to prepare people for what is about to hit, right? So the next thing I'm going to put here is the build has to prepare people for the drop. In other words, this is all getting a bit crammed here, but don't worry. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it here. It has to hint. It has to tease the drop. There has to be elements from your build, so when the drop hits, you almost know, even if you heard it for the first time, you know what the drop is going to sound like. So that's where I go next after that. And the great thing about having my drop finished is now I can build a whole track up from this. So now, what kind of elements would you repeat? Well, you might repeat the lead, bass sound, or lead sound, the bass sound, and more typically a snare roll. Okay, so these things will add tension to a track very rapidly. Okay, so that's the build, that's the drop, and that's the build. We've got to build people, prepare them for it. When the drop hits, we bring it all in. Now we go from this point on. I like to, at this point, just do the intro, right? Because the intro is kind of easy. All we're doing for the intro is we're going to take the drums from the drop, the bass from the drop, and percussion from the drop, which is kind of weird, right? Because you're like, well, that is the drop. Well, often it kind of is the drop. A lot of intros sound very similar to the drop. But what you will do is you might remove some of the bass from it. So you might, for example, high pass the drum, okay? So you're removing some of the subs. So high pass the drum. Okay, that's one thing you could do. And you're going to high pass the bass as well, right? So let's do this and put it in here. Now, another overarching thing that's critical when you're making dance music is something needs to change every 4 bars. You need to do that because you need to keep people interested. So something changing every 4 bars. Now, that's easy when we're going through the different phrases of a song. The phrase would be the intro, the breakdown, the build, the drop. These are phrases of a song. So it's easy if I'm going from the build to the drop. That's easy to do because it's obviously something's going to change. Where it gets tricky and where people go wrong is on the intro or the drop. It's like, well, how do you keep something changing when it's just like a drum and a bass line and stuff? Percussion is the answer, okay? So after 4 bars, percussion will change, okay? So percussion, let me put this in, changing every 4 bars, okay? Right, let's put this in here. Okay, percussion changing every 4 bars. That's what's going to do it. The next thing which I begin to think about, even before I get into the breakdown as well, the next thing I begin to think about is transitioning between things like intro to breakdown, okay, or breakdown to build, or even build to drop. The answer here is white noise, okay? So I'm going to put this up at the top as the overarching thing. White noise, okay? Or they're called sweeps, if you want to go and get sweep sounds on Splice. Sweeps, oh gosh, look at that, sweeps. And you have to have a sweep coming up and a sweep coming away. So it's got to go. This will add, it'll just easily transition you from one into the next. Okay, so white noise and sweeps for transitions. Okay, cool. So we got that. Now with the breakdown, the next breakdown would typically be where I would start to introduce. So I'm going to bring this over here. So breakdown is where you would introduce stuff. Okay. So in a lot of breakdowns, the drums get taken away. Typically, right? So drums typically get taken away. You're introducing sounds. So you're going to introducing, excuse any spelling mistakes. There's not enough hours in the day to correct my spelling mistakes. So introducing sounds, introducing vocals is another one. So if you got a vocal in your track, this is where you bring it in here. And also you might want to bring in kind of, this is where you kind of bring in like more kind of steady sounds like chords or a sustained bass line, you know, something like sustaining sounds. Like not much is really happening in the breakdown. It's the calm before the storm, okay? And the build is taking people into the storm. So this is the calm. So if I put this up here, I would say this was the calm, okay? And as for the intro's for the DJs, right? That's what the intro's for. The intro's for the DJs. And just so you know, the outro is also for the DJ. So you don't have to really overthink this. When people think, well, what does the intro and outro need to be? Don't worry too much. And honestly, you don't always have to put an intro in. A lot of songs these days just start with the breakdown. You know, not all songs are written for the clubs. If you listen to a lot of Martin Garrix's new tracks now, they don't come in with a kick drum, just comes in with like the singing, just straight away. It's like, oh, we're in the breakdown, okay? So this is for the DJs and the outros for the DJs. The intro and the outro are exactly the same. You just do it in a reverse way. So for example, if you bring in some additional percussion on the second 4 bars of the intro, what you do is on the outro, you do the reverse. You have that percussion in the first 4 bars and remove it on the second, okay? So percussion changing every 4 bars. And what this would typically be would be adding, right? Now, on the outro, what you're actually doing is removing, okay? You're removing the percussion here. Moving the percussion. Okay, cool. Once you've done this, you can then take this and just repeat it right over to here, okay? It's the same thing in the second half. You might just change it slightly. So now I've kind of told you this and told you exactly what this is. So the intro, and this is the thing you just have to memorize, is for the DJs. It's so they're bleeding the one track into the next. The breakdown is the calm. It's the bit where there's the singing, sustained notes, and you're introducing vocals and melodies and stuff like that. The build is where we're getting people excited, tension. They think something's coming. And then the drop is where it gets exciting, okay? So now I'm just going to open Spotify and we're going to listen to any track at all, right? I mean, it's just, this is so, let's just listen to this guy, okay? So, let's just listen to this guy, okay? So I'm just going to play, I haven't pre-thought about this, but this is what I've been listening to recently. And we're going to have a listen and you're going to just see this all pan out now in seconds, okay? So press play.
If you're not too sure.
Intro, kick drum. Not much going on here. And funny enough, he has actually brought in some vocals.
Let's try it.
I have to say, actually, I know this track, and he hasn't necessarily got an intro drums. We've kind of come almost into the breakdown. We've got the sustained notes. He's introduced the vocal, and he's introducing elements. So you can now hear that bass drum coming in, right?
If you're not too
You can hear the bass line. Dun, 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 dun. Listen.
sure. Let's try it.
White noise, right? Do you hear that? It came in. Now listen, after the white noise comes in, it'll now take us into a new phase of the song. The phase of the song is going to be the build. The great thing with the build is we're now going to hear repetition. We're going to hear clap, 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 snares. Something's going to repeat. White noise.
Let's try it. Let's try it.
Tension.
Let's try it.
Repeating. Let's try it. Let's try it. Let's try it.
Let's try it. Let's try it.
Oh, one thing I missed, right? In the build, another thing you'll use to add tension is risers. A riser is just a pitch that just goes up, right? A riser just goes, right? It's just anything that's pitching up also adds, that's a massive one, actually. I can't believe I forgot that off. It's repeating stuff and rising sounds. So you'll often get, sometimes people will repeat stuff and pitch it up because that's the ultimate kind of tension, right? So let's go back and listen to it.
Try it. Try it. Try it. Try it. Try it. Try it. Try it. Try it. If you're not too sure.
Now check it out. Now we're going to hear the drop. The drop is a kick and a bass.
Let's try it.
You feel that? I mean, it's freaking awesome, isn't it? I mean, it's freaking amazing. Like, it's why we're all here, that moment, right? That's why the drop is awesome. Now, notice this. How does he make the drop different? Because every 4 bars, and you can count this, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, you'll get to something, and something will change. Now, what he'll probably bring in is different percussion or some sort of riser sound. Something's going to change to keep us interested. So let's have a listen. It's like rise. You can hear them in the background. Something's changed again.
Not too sure. Let's try it.
And then we're going to the Turns out it's a slightly longer drop than normal, but you get the idea. So let's now just go and grab, and I'm not going to do this with loads of music, but Looney, Stiggy. I know this one's a bit more straight. Right, so this one's got an intro, right? Nothing exciting going in. It's a kick drum and a hi-hat and a clap, but I'm pretty sure after 4 bars, something will change. Okay, so it's going to change every 8 bars. Baseline. So weirdly, this is the breakdown, just because he started to introduce elements. So we've now got the bass has been introduced and the vocals have been introduced. We're in the breakdown of the track, but he has obviously continued the kick drum going. This is obviously the extended version, so it's slightly longer. Okay, now we're into the build. Okay, how do we know it's the build? It's repeating sounds. This is interesting because he's left the kick drum in. Usually I expect people to take the kick drum away, so this is kind of slightly different. But we might find there's a pause where he takes the kick drum away completely. Oh, there it is. And you can see it again. So now let's just go and get something a bit more. Let's get Animals, okay? This song made Martin Garrix millions. Let's have a quick listen. And this is going to be the last track we do, okay? So let's just have a listen. Intro drum. So that was the first bit of the intro, and there's the second bit of the intro now. Wait. This is the breakdown. Now notice what I said at the beginning. Sometimes the intro is very similar, but what they've done is just high pass stuff. So this beginning of the intro sounds like the breakdown, but they just high passed it. So it sounds kind of a bit thin, and then he brings the sub in and you can feel it. So here it's high pass. And then when a breakdown hits, he brings the sub in. There's the sub. Actually, so again, I've changed my mind a bit on this one. Maybe all of that was just the intro, and now we're into the breakdown. He's taken away the kick drum, and we're going to get more kind of, he's going to introduce a melody here. We might get some sustaining notes. This is all part of the breakdown as well. But what he's done is to progress it from one song to the next. He just made it bigger. So it goes ding, 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 ding. And then it's like, it's like a progression. It happens every 4, kind of 16 bars. There's the build. You hear that sound? Do-do-do, do-do-do. It's like repetition. That'll get quicker and quicker. Wiser. Do-do-do-do-do-do. It's getting higher and higher. The kick and the bass bring the energy, but the melody is the thing that makes it memorable. Okay, cool. So I just want to stop here and just double check. Has this been helpful so far? Are you like all thinking, hey, this is quite interesting. This is possibly not how I've thought about it in the past. I want to do this just to make sure that everyone is thinking about this like in the right way. Okay, cool. So let's now, for example, go and just redo this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come and we're going to see there's 2, 3, 4. So that's 4, 4, 8, 16. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to make a marker here, set point. So that would be a breakdown. I'm not going to write it. That would be the build. That would be the drop here. Oh, I've got to actually put the set points in. 2 seconds. So set. Okay, so I'm going to make a very generic track now, but I'm doing this because I want to show you how quickly you can easily get into doing this. Okay, so and hopefully inspire you to start making music quick. Okay, so come on, keyboard. Why can't zoom in? Weird. Is my mouse not working? Why can't I zoom out here? Well, that's infuriating. I've lost the ability to zoom in and out of a project. Great. Okay, so intro, breakdown, build, drop. Okay, we'll just go to here. Okay, cool. Oh, there we go. Got it back. Weird. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to go and get a kick. I'm going to go and get a kick first. Okay, so kick. I'm going to get a kick and put it in here. So this is where the drop begins here. So breakdown. Let me just quickly do this. Rename breakdown. Rename build. Rename drop. Okay, or drop. Okay, now we're going to put a kick in. So I'm just going to loop this kick and bring it out here. So we know this is going to be an intro here, a kick there, and we know we also know there'll be a kick at the beginning here. Okay, so at the intro. Now what we typically know as well is there'll be claps in here as well. Okay, so kick and a clap. I'm going to loop this. I'm just going to put it out here. And I'm also going to add a bass line in at this point as well. So I'm just going to do this. And I'm going to go and get a MIDI clip and put it in here. Okay, and I'm going to go and get a synth. I'm going to put Nexus on here like this. I'm going to select a kick sound. Okay, so I'm just going to get any kind of bass sound. Okay, so something like this. And I'm now just going to create a kick and a bass sound. Okay, so let's come down here. Turn this up. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn these down. Okay, let's duplicate this and make a very basic bass line. I'm going to make this 128. So the bass line is just going to go dum 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 dum. Dum 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 chicum dum 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 dum. Dum dum chicum dum 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 chicum. Okay, then that's going to be it. It's just going to loop that. Okay, so that's our drop. Dum 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 dum. Now, it's not that inspiring, but don't worry about it. I just want to make a generic kind of drop here. So with the kick and the drum is going to come in, but we know after... Okay, we know after this point here, we want to bring in more percussion. Okay, right? That's going to happen because we've already been through that. So at this point, I'm going to go and get some percussion sounds here. You can easily get percussive loops, which will be really quick for you. But again, this is just a quick demonstration of how well this stuff works. So I'm going to go to top loops, and I'm going to go to, let's go to hi-hats. And these are all pre-sounds that I've downloaded off splice.com, which you can go and get. It won't take too long at all. And then at this point, we want something to change. So we'll probably have, in fact, let's go and get like a G hat sound. Fine. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so these are two different ideas we've got. Okay. Now, is that inspiring? Maybe we'll come back to that drop in a bit and change it, but I just want to give you top level stuff. So right now we've got drums, bass. It's got sub bass in it already because that's quite a subby kind of sound. I've purposely put it in F because it's a low kind of boomy kind of note. And we've got percussion, and maybe we could add a lead in. We'll come back to that in a bit. Oh, well, actually, no, look, maybe we can add a lead. So, you know, because that's a basic bass line. Dum, 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 dum. I'm going to put this in F, and I'm going to put it in F minor. So now I'm not guessing what notes I'm going to use. I'm going to scale it. And now we've added a little bit more interest because the notes. And then maybe on the second half. Okay. Cool. Right. So let's leave that. Now we're going to move on to the intro. So we're going to move on to the build. Okay. So the build, what we need is repetition. And repetition, we need a snare roll. That's going to be an easy one to throw in there. Okay. So now I'm just going to go to snare rolls. So we're going to go to at the top here, snare rolls. And this is very generic, but I just want to kind of show you how quickly and easily you can begin to even just sketch out an idea. Okay. Even if it's kind of uninspiring. So I'm going to go to EDM. This might be overkill, but you know, no worries. So. We're going to throw a riser in there as well. So we want something that just sounds like it's going. Okay, riser. Something like this. Okay, and now we're going to throw in, maybe we'll get like, we need to tease what's coming. So we could go and get something like this now and just. And we're just going to repeat that. So, because that's what we're going to repeat. Dum, dum, da, dum. And I'm going to put this on a new lane. So what we're doing with the riser is different to the drop, okay? And in this riser, remember, we can't have any drums and we can't have any bass. Well, we've got a bass line. It's a bit of a melody. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to high pass the bass, okay? So I'm going to go to filters, auto, filter, and I'm just going to just high pass it, okay? So. And then this is going to go quicker. So we're going to make this half time now. Like this. And then I'm going to make it half time again here, right? So it's just repetition at this point, right? It's not rocket science. And you know, sometimes it's nice to have like a big snare. This is another little tip that I've noticed. Okay, sometimes it's quite good to have like a big snare in it just before the drop hits. Okay, so you can go and get these. Okay, so if you go to all folders and go to big snare, you can get these kind of like big sounds that just hit, and sometimes that just adds a lot before a drop as well. Okay, cool. So we've got that. Now, if I was worrying, I'm actually going to make it 4, 8. So actually, I'm going to make this whole thing in bars of 8. Okay, so it's just a lot quicker. So let's just say this was my drop here. Okay, this was the drop here. This was the build. This was the breakdown here. And then this was the intro here. Okay, it's just going to make it a kind of quick song, but don't worry. So we're going to put that in here, the drop. Now, at the beginning of the drop, all we're doing is we're just kind of introducing what's coming in. So I might just have the intro that's just this, okay? And we may even begin to introduce a bit of this drop here, which has already got a high pass on it. Sounds like an intro, right? Straight off the bat. And we want to make sure it kind of flows a bit nicer. So how do we make it flow from one bit into the next? We use white noise, okay? So I'm going to come here, and again, I've said this 100 times, but every sound you're seeing me use here, you can go and grab easily. So I'm going to use sweep up. Actually, there is some white noise somewhere that's like sweep up and down. Let me see if I've got any of those sweep transitions here. That will do for now, okay? So kind of a bit weird, right? What's this one? But you know, if in doubt, you can just go and get sweep ups like this. So clean, sweep up. And that's sweep down. We want sweep ups. So clean, sweep up. Cool. That one will do. Okay, that'll do. I'm going to drop that down here. That might be too long, but don't worry, we can just shorten it by voluming it. That goes into the breakdown. What I tend to do a lot with my white noise is I just reverse it, right? As you can hit this button down here, it just flips it. And now we've got a sound that if I take this fade back off that I added in, we've got a sound that also sweeps down. And if I put it in this mode, which is not in automation mode here. And by the way, if anything I'm saying on this call sounds ridiculously complicated, you will understand this stuff. Just go through Ableton Fast Track. And honestly, everything I've discussed here, you'll understand by going through Ableton Fast Track. So just put time aside to do that. Right. Now we're on to the breakdown. So breakdown might be where you introduce the full bass line, right? Which is this sound here, right? We need another sweep up and down here. And again, we're making something very generic here. This is not going to go to number 1. I mean, it kind of amazes me because honestly, that took 2 seconds. It doesn't really sound half bad, you know. And again, if you wanted to, you could throw a lead in here, right? So let's just duplicate this. Let's go and get this lead here, duplicate it, and we just at this point go and get. I mean, I don't typically throw that many leads in, but we could give it a go. Okay, so I'm just going to come to this lane now. And I'm going to select a different sound. This time we're going to pick a lead sound, right? So we'll go to lead and we'll get... that up. We'll get maybe like a plucky kind of sound. Okay, pluck. And I'm just going to join all this together. So I can connect two and just combine them by hitting Apple J. And I'm going to bump these up. What if I just move the note along a bit? And there's kind of, I always just like to start with a bit of a rhythm and then like see if any kind of ideas come. Don't overdo it. Let's just repeat that. Right, and we've got a bit of a lead in there, right? Now that'll do. Don't like that beat. I'm going to bring it down one. Right, now maybe that's something I actually introduce on the second half, right? But maybe this is something that's kind of brought in on the breakdown. And, you know, maybe we do something interesting because this is kind of minimal, right? So maybe I can now go in that, you know, the thing we were talking about with Kirsten at the beginning, I could go and add like a delay onto this. Now I'm not going to add delay because I know this plugin has delay. So I've got a delay here. So I can maybe just put the feedback up a bit and put the mix up a bit, right? So now we've got more of a... But I don't want there to be a long delay on the drop one. So I would then put these on a different lane, right? So now the drop one, I'm going to revert back to where it was, which with less mix and less feedback. But the one earlier in the track is going to have more. We want to sweep there as well. And then we do the same thing here, right? We just repeat this. So that repeat, 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 repeat. And but at this point, we half it to there. And then we may even half it again here. So that comes like this. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Okay. And you know they do, this is another generic thing that happens a lot with drops. There's a little vocal before the drop hits or some sort of something, right? And I actually, on Splice the other day, I found like all these like Spanish ones. So let's just have a listen.
1, 2, 3. Ay, papi.
All right, there we go. Ay, Bobby. Here we go. Let's drop this in.
Ay, papi. Ay, papi. Ay, papi.
And then can we throw this in at points, you know? So here.
Papi.
No, let's just see. Now there might be more vocals.
Oh, papi.
Okay, cool. Let's throw this in.
Oh, papi.
I like that sex sound because I'm a pervert.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, it's my song.
oh, oh.
Nah, it's overkill. Let's not overdo it, Phil. Okay. And let's see if there's any others.
Arriba, baila conmigo.
Aha. Me likey that. So that's going in there. Now woof might go on a fritz. Oh, we didn't hear it. It's too quiet.
Come on!
That's That's nice. But they're cheesy, but I actually like these, like, come on kind of stuff. It's kind of cool.
Let's go. Skirt. Yeah.
Dale. Hoy me levanté con ganas de perrear. Hoy me levanté. Múmbata la tumba. Hoy me levanté.
Okay.
Hoy me levanté con.
No, doesn't work. Doesn't work.
Múmbata la. Qué rica. Qué rica.
I like that. And I'm almost thinking, like, could that become like a percussive sound? So, like, and so this is what I'd be thinking. Could I put it on an offbeat? So it's almost like like this. Now we've got these ideas from the intro. Well, actually, I might throw a couple of these ideas now into the, from the drop. I might throw some of these ideas now into the intro just to make it a bit more interesting, right? So I bring these along now. Too much. It's too much there, right? But I liked it in the drop. So again, I duplicate it and I'm going to do something different with it here. For example, here, I might go and get a filter and then filter that sound in, right? So that just goes on here. And now. Maybe we put a bit of reverb on it, right? And I'm not going to go on too much, but yeah, I'll end up making a whole song. But hopefully this is kind of cool for you guys to see. Okay, here we go. Take that out, duplicate this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter this up over time, like this. Is that the drop or the intro? Yeah, no, it's okay. Okay, cool. So now we've got that. Now, can you all see from me creating that how quick and easy it is to at least sketch something out that could inspire you? Like if I packaged this up now and sent it to you all, you'd be like, oh, I'm pumped. This is pretty awesome, right? And you can begin to see like there's the bones of something interesting going on here. And then, yeah, you kind of start listening to it in a bit more detail. Now, I don't make music like this. The way I do it is I listen to a song and I listen to exactly what that person is doing. And I go about replicating that person and then changing stuff to make it my own. And you end up with something completely different. But for anybody who's brand new on the call, what I wanted to show you is how quick and simple and easy it can be to just throw stuff in place once you understand the concepts of this. So give me some thumbs up if this is kind of like it's helped you, it's inspired you, and you're like, actually, I can kind of understand. This has kind of inspired me and made me think like this is what could happen. Awesome, sweet. And look, let's just go and have a quick listen to it now because it's kind of cool.
Ay, papi.
And like, all right, so at this point, I'm thinking, why don't we throw a riser in, right? I mean, this is kind of like how it works. So I would select all this section here, all the way down, and just duplicate it, including the kick drum. Okay. But in this section of the song, I'm now going to throw a riser in. Right, okay. So, because I'm just a fan of these kind of riser sounds, and a lot of the music I listen to uses this. So I'm going to actually make a riser from scratch. Just because I'm going to show you some cool stuff that I found myself doing a lot recently in music. So we're going to add a lane with MIDI. We're going to draw in a MIDI clip like this. We're going to go and pick a key of F, because that's the key we've been making the music in. I'm going to hit legato. Legato stretches the note all the way to the end. So if I was to have several notes in here like this, like that, and then hit legato, they all stretch to the next note. You got to hit them first, right? Legato. Okay. Okay, so close that down, highlight this, legato. Now I'm going to go and grab a synth. I always find myself using the same synth, the Nexus, right? Oh, crikey, right. Nexus goes on, but you can use Serum, you can use any synth. Go and grab like a crazy kind of sound, okay? So go to leads typically. Heaven will do. And what we're going to do is we want it to rise because it builds tension. So we want this note to go. On all synths, you will have this thing down here called a mod wheel, which will moderate the pitch. Let me solo the sound so you can hear it by itself. But I actually want it to go higher, so I can go in and into this section here, and you can go to where it says pitch bend. I can put it up by 24. So now it'll go at 24. Well, okay, cool. So now I can modulate this to move wherever I want. Like if I just drag this out, because that was the last thing I hit here and I wobbled it around, you see on the screen that red line wobbling up and down here. So now I know that's selected. I can now just get this and pitch it up. But I want this to also duck to the beat. And the bass line should be ducking to the beat as well, but it'll be more apparent with this. So I'm going to throw a sidechain on. Now I'm going to duck. Listen to it by itself. But here's the secret sauce, and this is something I really enjoy doing. I like this kind of sound, okay, where it's like the sound's turning up and down in volume quickly. Now, the tool you want to use for this is called auto pan. So I come here, I can go to pitch and modulate, auto pan, and put it on. Auto pan will send the sound from one side to the left, to the right, to the left. But if you just put the phase to 0, it will now just turn the volume up and down. Let me turn the sidechain off so we can hear just one thing at a time. But I'm going to cause this to go quicker, because remember the repetition, getting quicker and quicker and quicker, the thing I taught you at the beginning? We want this to speed up. See, it's all the same thing. What builds tension is repetition speeding up. Okay, cool. So we've now got this awesome riser. Sounds cool. Sounds awesome. Okay, cool. Just saturate that a bit. I almost feel like it needs to actually be rising a bit quicker. There we go.
Ay, papi.
That's awesome. The other thing I'd probably change as well, I mean, like this could go on forever, right? But I'd probably pitch this sound up, because sounds going up adds tension again. So now it will go from this sound here. Oh, that's the bass line. I can't change that. That's got to stay where it is. Hey, God, remove. Okay, this sound here. On the second half could be this. And I'm also thinking, could that note be higher? Yeah, awesome. There we go. So that's the full track.
Ay, papi.
Awesome. That's that. That's that. Do you want to enjoy that? Do you think that's kind of cool? I think it's pretty cool that, and it's kind of like, this is not that hard. This is the main thing you need to understand, right? Once you get this, the rest of it will all fall into place, because really 90% of dance music is everything I just did here, right? And you just have to do that in a different way, right? Different bass line, different kick, different clap, different shuffle, different lead, and you can kind of interchange it and swap it around, and you can kind of begin to really pump out a lot of tracks quite rapidly. The secret is understanding this stuff, and then following what your favorite artists do.